Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Stevens, and I want to welcome you guys to the Stephanie Stevens Show. Today on my show, I am talking to seniors about mental illness and the workforce at retirement. Today on my show, I have the incredible Mr. Steve Riley. He has agreed to come on to my show and share his story. So today, I'd like for you guys to welcome to my show Mr. Steve Riley. How are you today, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Wonderful. Now, the reason I wanted to have you on my show today is because um, I have been thinking about the mental um, illness issues. I've been listening to a lot of those in the news today, and I just thought that I wanted to hear it from a senior's point of view. Now, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on my show to tell your story. It's not easy to come on to um, a show and talk about issues that face us today, but I'm glad that you came on to discuss your story with us, and hopefully we can educate others here on my show. Now, where are you from? Can you just give us a little short outline of your life and where are you from? Family, friends, school?
Born in Yugoslavia,
Mm-hmm.
emigrated to Canada in 1959,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty well grew up here, but I spent time in the States and back in Europe.
Okay.
Family was three brothers, two sisters, and mother and father, but there was a divorce in the family, and then my mother brought five children up on her own.
So you've been in Toronto how many years?
Since 1959, on and off,
So were you here with family or by yourself?
until the age of 15 with family.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was your family life in Canada up to the age of 15?
Family life. My father was a photographer, and my mother, she was working, and so we had to pretty well grow up on our own as children. But we were a middle class family. But my father was very abusive. He wasn't an alcoholic or drug user, but very
Mm-hmm.
abusive physically.
Okay.
If you didn't do the dishes, if you didn't clean or something like that, you got more than a slap.
Mm. Now, when you say that so now today our show is about mental illness and seniors facing the workforce. Now, when did you know that you just felt different? Not that you felt mentally ill, but when did you know you knew something was wrong?
As I was growing up, I just, when I'd watch TV, I'd see family movies, and I just didn't feel like I belonged because what I was watching on TV wasn't reality to me.
Hmm. Now, okay, when did your parents ever feel like something was wrong with you?
I really couldn't answer that.
Okay.
There wasn't much communication.
Okay. So do you think that maybe the the were you isolated from your family? Like were you isolated from your parents? Did you have an aunt like a father son outing? Did you have a close relationship with your folks or was it distant?
Not close, but in those days growing up, family spent time on Saturdays, Sundays together. But
Mm-hmm.
there was no close relationship to my father. He didn't play any sports with us. He didn't take us, to any hockey games or anything.
So there was sort of a disconnect in the family.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
everybody was busy working.
oh, okay. And so did you have aunts and aunties, any relatives, really try to fill in the gap of like did they visit anybody visit all the time that took you places or did anything with you?
No, Saturdays and Sundays was the only time that family members or relatives or friends connected.
Hmm. Okay. So when did you feel when did you actually feel like something was wrong with you and that you needed to see a doctor?
Well, that's a question that I think is not phrased properly. When you say see a doctor, as a child,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about doctors that had any problems or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. I just didn't feel I had a family, and so anytime I could run away from the house, when we're supposed to be sleeping, I'd crawl out the window and
Mm-hmm.
you know go socialize that way.
So you felt better amongst your friends and other people. Were these
As I was
old? Hmm?
as I was growing up, yes.
Okay. So when you were, like you said, going out of the window late at night, sort of breaking curfew and breaking the rules of what your father or your mother had set to say what time to be in the house and don't go out after a certain time. So you felt that you could communicate with others better that were outside of the. Well, what kind of people were these?
As I got older, that's when I started getting around 8, 9, 10. Then I
Mm-hmm.
started meeting people at school who were doing the same thing, who had really dysfunctional families and knew it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that I had a dysfunctional family. I figured, well, we're middle class, both parents are working, we have everything, but we
Mm-hmm.
just didn't have a family life. So when I started socializing with people like that in grade school and everything, I found they were going out late, so I started going out late.
So this was sort of like a rebellious thing, an acting out sort of a.
I wouldn't say rebellious. It's just you have somebody that you meet in school that you become friends with, and you see them doing certain things that you're not doing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
fulfilling certain needs, so you participate.
So did you ever try to sit down with your parents and say, look, I feel this way?
No, because I seen what my mother was going through. My father beating her all the time because he was a womanizer, so there was no room for us to say anything
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't our place, and if we did, my father would really give us punish us.
So your father was abusive and basically you were afraid of him.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So this is probably what kept you from, do
yeah.
you think this is what kept you from
He
really opening up to him?
Yeah, he terrorized everybody, children, the wife. Uh,
Okay. So when you came to Canada, and what was the last year like with your relatives while you were in Canada? What was the last year your relationship was like with your family?
Before I left home,
No, but when you got to Canada,
yes,
you said you were with them for 15 years.
yes.
So your last year of those 15 years, what was that like? What
Uh,
what made you leave? Like you left for a
what
reason.
made me leave? I started getting into criminal activity as a
Mhm.
child. Small things, and then I started seeing money, and then the money started affecting me, and I wanted more money, and
Mhm.
things that I wasn't getting, I was taking, and it just drew me in.
Mhm. So the sort of the fast lifestyle,
Yes,
the easy everything.
yes.
And like did your parents know you were doing this?
At the beginning, no, but then when I did get involved with the law,
Mhm.
and they'd bring me home or call my parents, and I had to go to court, that's when they found out.
Okay. So now, after years of this, I you wouldn't say rebellious, but I would say sort of rebellious or acting out. Now, what was the age that you were in the height of your, let's just say, your criminality? What was the height? Like, what was the major thing that made you stop and think?
The height, I think I'm interpreting that wrongly. The height, you mean when I was living
Yeah,
fine?
like when you were just the king of everything, like you had everything in
Yes, I had no
control.
control, and then I had no worries. I found that money was power, and terrorizing people was where you push fear on people. That gave
Hmm.
you that power, that authority and that respect that you wanted as a child, and that's what I portrayed, and that's what I got, and life was just fine.
Hmm. So while you were going through all this, did you have any communication with your parents?
No, after I left the home at 15, I maybe see my mother once every few years.
Now, your family knew about your activities?
Yes.
So did they try to talk to you, or they just said we don't want anything to do with
No,
you?
by then my father, then he left when, he left, well, before I left the house, he left.
Hmm.
And my mother knew, and visited me in jail or when I was out on bail. She talked to me, why don't I get a job? Why don't I finish school?
Hmm. So what was for me, I'm just trying to connect the two, the family and the disorder. Um,
To connect those, it took me a lifetime pretty well to connect everything. It's only the recent few years that I've found out where I stood mentally. Uh, People toss labels at me, and nobody could picture it together. I took several psychological courses, and I found as a child we look at TV, we develop heroes, people want to be things we want to do, and we develop certain roles. At a certain age, we decide what our life's going to be all about, and I've traced it all back now to what affects me mentally is growing up in the family environment where my father was abusive to a point where in those days you can beat a child, you can slap a child, and police would come. Oh, he's your father. My father literally beat me with a whip where I had marks on my back, and the police came, and they seen that, and I tell them about it. I was the one who called them, and they say, he's your father. So this mental torture as a child, you grow up and it becomes part of you. You haven't dealt with it. You haven't discussed it with anybody. And at one point in life, you decide nobody else is going to hurt you. But then the other side of you comes out, an animal, the dark side. To protect yourself, you do anything to survive. But you don't realize you have an issue that you haven't dealt with. So that mental illness starts as a child. Then I step into society. The people that are supposed to be there to serve and protect take over. But in those days, you couldn't tell anybody that a police officer beat you. So now they assume your father's role. You're tortured, you're beat by them. Nobody will believe that. You go through the system recommends psychiatric treatment, they put a label on you, but you never get that treatment.
but did you try to get that
Did
treatment?
I try? Several times, yes, as I
Okay.
got older.
And what were they actually treating you for? What, like when you went to see them? What was the actual treatment?
What was the actual treatment? The best way I can describe this is I was sent to what they used to call 991 Queen Street, which was a psychiatric center. And
Are you talking about CAMH?
CAMH, yes,
Okay.
it's called CAMH now.
Okay.
Well, the psychiatrist did an evaluation and everything, and he said I had psychotic tendencies, narcissistic personality, this and this. I should be sent to a penitentiary for the criminally insane. The possibility of rehabilitation were nil. So that's one assessment I had done. I had another one done at Clark Institute. Same recommendations. For 3 psychiatrists at an early age, but then I'm sent into the system and treatment doesn't follow me. And if it did follow me, I would receive treatment from someone who was in the system who really didn't care. The best way to describe it, I'd always have contact with someone now. As I grew up, I'd say to the person, okay, I'm going to ask you a simple question. Are you here for a paycheck or are you here to help me? And the answer most of the time was, I'm here for my paycheck. And the ones that I found that tried to help me, sooner or later, they left the system. So I never did receive the treatment. They left the system because they seen they couldn't do anything in the system.
Like, so sometimes the repeatness of people doing, and the same psychiatrists and these same people are repeating the same process all the time. One minute you're out of the system and they figure they've got you balanced, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later they see you back in the system saying something very similar to what you're saying but adding something more onto it. Eventually they have to come to some diagnosis to what your illness or what they think your illness is and what your treatment should be.
Mental illness, when you get absorbed by the system, from a family environment into a system environment, it just becomes a revolving door. Labels are added on the outside. On the inside, you're medicated. No real treatment is given. And then you're assessed again if you're going up for parole, and labeled again and put on parole and thrown back out in the street. So it's just a revolving door. The system never deals with the issue.
So you really never had. So were you in and out of prison at the same time that you were in and out of Cam H?
No, CAMH, after CAMH,
Mm-hmm.
the reason I was assessed to CAMH and everything, I was involved in a violent offense,
Mm-hmm.
and the judge required, he said he would like to have an assessment done on me. And that's
Okay.
when the whole process started.
Okay. So now, did you ever? Were your family was like you said? Your mother was came a few times.
Yes.
So did your mother ever step in to? Did she believe that something was actually wrong with you? Because you know mothers never think anything's wrong with their children.
No, not mentally.
Okay. Now, when did you get a diagnosis that you were comfortable with to go back out into the world to make you think I should change? What was the actual diagnosis and what was the actual outcome of the positive diagnosis that you thought worked for you?
That didn't occur. That didn't occur until just last 10 years.
Okay. So that means that you was it Cam H that helped you or like
No,
okay.
apparently no one helped me until just 3 years ago
Okay.
when I started getting fed up with my life. And at that time, I already reached the past 50, and I was seeing a doctor, and I said, I'd like to see a psychiatrist and just get an evaluation and see what's really wrong with me.
Mhm.
And that's the first time I ever did find out what my problem was.
Okay, can you tell us what the problem was?
Well, after being labeled with all these other labels, personality disorder, narcissistic, this and this, penitent for the criminally insane, I find out 50 years later that all I have is post-traumatic stress disorder.
Can you tell us what that is?
Post-traumatic stress disorder is where you've been in a war or physically abused, sexually abused. Well, my whole life has been physically abused.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't my father beating me, it was the police torturing me. If it wasn't them, it was my lifestyle, shootings, stabbings. So it just became that withdrawn person that, post-traumatic stress disorder is where you all of a sudden become paranoid. Somebody come close to you, you're always on guard that nobody's going to hurt you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very dangerous place to be.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel now?
How do I feel now?
Like
I'm in, I'm still in that state where it's called chronic personality disorder. And I fought to get financial assistance to be able to deal with it.
mm-hmm.
And the only reason I received financial assistance is because 2 years ago I was assaulted by two young men half my age,
Mm-hmm.
ended up in the hospital with broken ribs, and I won a criminal compensation case.
Mm-hmm.
And I made my case about something's wrong with me and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I sought to help, and finally I was introduced to a lawyer that helped me, and the settlement was made that I was going to get so much money for the injury, so much money for psychological help, and that's where it all began,
Okay.
the treatment.
Now, have you ever done drugs?
Yes,
Okay. I'm not trying to put the two together, but have you ever thought doing drugs all those years? Have you been doing drugs since
been
the
doing
time
drugs
you
since
were-
15.
Okay. So from the time you started basically your criminal activity, you've been doing drugs.
Yes.
So have you ever thought that the drugs might be part of the mental illness that you have?
Might have contributed to some disorders,
Because
but I
most
don't know who to believe when it comes to, because I've had brain MRIs, brain scans, and they say, well, I have some brain damage from use of drugs, and but no, I've lived a criminal life. I've tried the straight life. One thing that I did learn in the penitentiary was I took an apprenticeship course, and I did complete it on the street, and I became a plumber. So I was living two lives,
okay. So
straight and on the other side of the fence.
so did the doctors ever ask you about your drug? The psychiatrist, did they ever ask you about your drug use?
Yes.
So which drugs did you use?
I've used cocaine, speed, acid, grass,
Okay. So did the psychiatrist ever think that you the drugs were what was triggering what was going on with you?
Some psychiatrists would kind of try to associate my problems with the drugs,
Okay.
but their diagnosis weren't even close. I don't have to have drugs. I've been without drugs for years. I took them recreationally sometimes. Sometimes I take them to hide from something. If I have an issue, I would use so that I wouldn't face reality, disappointments. And now, if I use drugs, I use them just to hide from everybody, from life, from society, and everything.
So how do you feel right now? How do you feel about your life? How do you feel about just overall your overall mental health and how do you feel just how do you feel today?
I feel good, and doing this, I would like to participate in more programs like this just to wake up society on the issues that seniors have to deal with, children have to deal with. There's so many issues that we have to deal with, and I'm starting to find myself wanting to participate more in these activities
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm a senior,
Okay.
and just waking up society to reality.
So you want to help educate others. Share
Yes,
your story, basically.
yes.
Now, um, what do you think? Just give me a few more minutes here. Give me a few more minutes. And what is, I just, because I really, in closing, I really want to, because your story has been this has been great. It's been very informative, and I understand you've been very clear at what has happened with you. Now, the most difficult for you now that you are a senior? Not complaining, but what is it you need right now to help you with whatever it is, housing, medicine, whatever, and how do you think the government or agencies should handle the issues and the many issues facing seniors with the same issues as you?
Well, I find that it's another trap. But now I'm a senior, so I fall into another category.
Mm-hmm.
As a child, growing up as an adult, and now as a senior. It doesn't seem to change. The category is always the same when you analyze it.
Mm-hmm.
This, it always falls back to the same thing: money. And if you don't have money, poverty.
Okay. What's um, what's your advice to other seniors right now? What's your advice? What do you think should be the immediate action seniors should take now?
We have to organize ourselves, and we have to come together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Not just seniors, but
Mm-hmm.
people, you know, that are, in their mid ages and everything, and recognize that something's wrong with the system.
Okay. So voting doesn't work and census doesn't
Voting
work.
does work
Okay.
if people will participate in it.
Mm-hmm.
The voting is mostly done by the upper class,
Okay.
and that's why they're always winning their elections.
Mm-hmm.
It's not done by middle class or the poor people.
What
We
about
don't have
what about the census? What do you think of that?
census. When you say census,
Meaning that, do you think that when the government goes around and asks you certain questions about schooling, housing, um, for me, being here in in Canada and loving this country, the census, I don't think the government knows who lives here.
you're right. And the
So
government,
that's why the voting is so low. I think the voting here is very low compared to other countries because the government doesn't know who's a, a citizen here and doesn't reach out really um, like as a government should to the citizens to vote. We have a very low voting population.
but we don't have anybody speaking to the middle class or to the poor poverty. We don't have anybody speaking on our behalf. We don't have anybody going around educating us that we have to vote.
Okay.
We have to vote. As the minority,
Mm-hmm.
we have to vote because there's not going to be any change if we don't.
So this is what you think should happen in the future.
Yes,
Okay. Do you think this can be achieved with getting everybody? What's the steps you think seniors should take to rally everybody together?
I'm taking one right now,
Okay.
doing the show.
Thank you That was great. Um, I just want to say, in closing, I'd like to thank you, Steve, for coming on my show, on the Stephanie Stevens Show. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to my show. Today, we talked to Mr. Stephen Riley about mental illness. Now, in summing everything up, I just want to say that seniors, take actions. If you want change, take action, like he said. And make the government accountable because that's why you pay taxes and you vote. So, thank you guys so much for being on the Stephanie Stevens Show. I'm Stephanie Stevens. Be sure to subscribe and share my channel with everyone. And next week, I have the incredible Lauren Lovelace will be on my show to talk about small town LGBT pronoun community being gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans in a small town. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to my YouTube station. I'm Stephanie Stevens. Thank you, Mr. Steve
You're welcome.
Riley, very much for being on my show. Over and out, everybody. Have a blessed week. I'm Stephanie Stevens. Over and out.